do have them missing the playoffs, and I think the Cardinals are a team to watch out for. I don't have them making it. I think it's going to be the Rams and 49ers out of the NFC West. But you gave Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins, Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, Andy Isabella, Keyshawn Johnson. I mean, the offensive line is starting to come together, and now there's a defense, or at least a semblance, some semblance of a defense. So, I mean, I got to tell you, I think the Cardinals are a team that are going to be a lot better this year. I can tell you right now, no game in the NFC West is going to be easy. But I think, the Cardinals are going to be in every game. I think the Rams will, the 49ers, and the Seahawks. But at the end of the day, I think the Rams and 49ers come out of the NFC West and, are on the other side come postseason.
And with that, you have the Rams. I mean, when you look at their offense and the receivers, and just there's no set number one wide receiver. And we all saw Van Jefferson just destroy people at the Senior Bowl. Is he that far behind Kupp and Woods, or do you think he might end up either at some point in the season becoming a number one receiver for them?
I mean, I think the sky's the limit with Van Jefferson. The biggest thing with him is route running, and he's just that's the biggest thing for any rookie receiver. If you can create separation, you have a chance. And it's a great question, Kenneth, because, when you look at, what's going on with this receiver room, you have Robert Woods, you have Cooper Kupp, you have 2 ones, essentially. Everyone's trying to push Josh Reynolds as that 3 that is better than a 3. I think he is a 3, but I think I said it right when they drafted him. Van Jefferson is already better than Josh Reynolds. It's not crazy to think of either, because if you think about it, Van Jefferson is already 24 years old, guys. That is the one, if there's a problem about Van Jefferson, it's the fact that he's too old. But he's not too old, right? But that would be the only issue with him. Josh Reynolds is 25 years old. Van Jefferson's 24. Robert Woods is 28. And Cooper Kupp, I believe, is 27. So, I mean, it's an older receiver group. But I'll tell you right now, 24-year-old Van Jefferson knows how to run routes. And people point to his production in college and get a little worried. I mean, I don't know what you expect out of a guy that was behind DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, all those guys at Ole Miss. And then he transferred to Florida. And, I mean, Florida, the quarterback play, I think us three can agree the quarterback play could have been better.
That's a nice way of saying it.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to be, friendly. I mean, we were talking Michigan. Don't get me started with Donovan Peoples-Jones, then a second-round pick, and he goes in the 6th round because, a guy by the name of Shea, who used to be at Ole Miss, just forgot how to throw a football.
Noticing a definite pattern.
Yeah, exactly. But no, I think Van Jefferson has the ability to become a 1. The Rams don't need him to. But I think the thing that's cool about McVay's offense, I think all the receiver positions are interchangeable in a sense. Having Jordan Rodriguez on our show recently, and if you guys are looking for the best Rams reporter, she's on top of everything, and she just got to LA in May, I want to say. She used to write for she still writes for the Athletics. She was covering the Panthers for a few years, and now she's covering the Rams. And she's just got everything. She's got all the intel. She goes above and beyond. So she came on our show and was explaining how she felt like they were going to use Reynolds more as a vertical threat. And she's the one that reported that Van Jefferson may have actually passed Josh Reynolds before the season started as the wide receiver 3. And, I mean, you guys saw if you saw Hard Knocks, I mean, you saw he's done a nice job of, working his way up the rungs, and, iron sharpens iron. When you're going up against Jalen Ramsey, who I believe is the best corner in football, he definitely just got paid like it.
Yes.
it definitely helps. And when Ramsey was coaching him up, I liked that cool little bit in the season finale of Hard Knocks. But yeah, I'm a big Van Jefferson fan. I already got my Bone Van Jefferson jersey, so I'm pretty sold on him, I'd say.
So you talked a little bit about, the mix at receiver, and I'm just curious, they already announced they plan on using the running back by committee, but, being someone who knows, both watching the game and also a little bit about analytics and stuff like that, how do you see the backfield shaking up? How would you mix it up? And, do you foresee a running back by committee throughout the whole year, or is this just, until someone separates themselves from the pack?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the best way I can say it is I think they'll start the game with Malcolm Brown on Sunday night. And I think what will happen is Cam Akers will grab hold of the carries in that same game. I think you're looking about 18 carries out of Cam Akers when it's all said and done for Sunday Night Football. Malcolm Brown probably around the 9 to 10 range, and then maybe you get 6 out of Darrell Henderson. But here's the thing about Darrell Henderson. I think they're going to be using him like the Browns want to use Kareem Hunt, as a pass catcher out of the backfield. Like, I think that's how they're going to use him. And that's not to say he can't be used as a regular running back, because he was my number 1 running back in that draft. But, you can kind of use him however you want. And I think the Rams are going to kind of look at him and think, okay, he's probably a little further ahead than, somebody like Cam Akers in the receiving game. He's also, scheduled to be the kick returner. They did just claim Raymond Calais they didn't claim him. They signed him right off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers practice squad, and the quickest practice squad poaching I've ever seen. They signed him about an hour after he got put on it. And he is going to wear number 30, so you have to imagine they don't just give Todd Gurley's number out to anybody. So, he might have a role down the line. Ran a 4.2 at his pro day also. So, I mean, this guy's fast. But, I'm not even talking about Xavier Jones, who I absolutely love, who made the team over John Kelly, who was a 6th-round draft pick in 2018, a guy that, a lot of people watched in college at Tennessee, and they kind of wanted him to be the next Kamara, and I just felt like, those comparisons were a little unfair. But Xavier Jones at SMU, guys, he would have been drafted in the 5th round or, maybe even higher if, this class had a fair pre-draft process. I mean, the fact of the matter is Xavier Jones didn't get a chance to go to the Senior Bowl. He didn't get a chance to compete at the Combine. And if you didn't get any of those two things, for lack of a better term, you were, screwed. So, a lot of these guys that didn't make an NFL roster, a lot of these guys that are on the practice squad and, may have been on 53, they didn't get their opportunity to play in preseason. So it really speaks volume, guys, that Xavier Jones, keep in mind, Sean McVay's been around John Kelly since, since 2008, not 2008, 2018. You have to imagine that Xavier Jones looked really good if he made the team without preseason, as a UDFA. So, I think you have a bunch of guys there. And that's the crazy dynamic that kind of came of everything. The fact they got Calais, from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kind of changed everything. Malcolm Brown is there to be the solid veteran that is just going to do his job. He's the guy, he showed you last year, week 1 of the season against the Panthers. I believe he had 2 touchdowns in that game. He was very efficient. We won't talk about how Sean McVay completely forgot how to manage the football games throughout the rest of the year. The running game was, kind of all whack. It was like Todd Gurley got 10 carries and Malcolm Brown got 9. It's very weird. But we've seen Malcolm Brown has proven he can be a starting running back in this league. It's why the Lions, threw an offer sheet at him, before they went out and they ended up, drafting DeAndre Swift this year. So, that's kind of my thought, is that Brown can be whatever you need, but Akers has the I do everything upside of Todd Gurley. And so that's why I gravitate towards believing Akers, on top of him being a higher pick than Henderson, and being a more recent pick than Henderson, I think he kind of has the face of the running back room type of title. At least the Rams kind of look at him that way. I think everything that is being done strategically to help him out and get him ready, because he is the guy moving forward. Make no mistake about it. They love him, and he's a young back. Keep in mind, he's 21, so he's one of the younger guys in the draft class.
Yeah, Calais, we saw him at the NFLPA game. He balled out, had big runs, and, yeah, pure burner. Then you have, Henderson, we're still waiting on the verdict on that, but that's kind of a loaded running back room, loaded receiver room. So the fact that the Rams have all this help on offense, and they have Ramsey locked down, so that's kind of a big sigh of relief. I'm not really worried about the linebackers. Who has more pressure on them to kind of succeed? Jared Goff or Aaron Donald?
Oh, it's definitely Jared Goff. Because at the end of the day, Jared Goff didn't have a season last year up to par with what he's shown he can do. Aaron Donald is always going to be as great as Aaron Donald is. The only thing that Aaron Donald has is that obviously he never wants to go back to, the days where he didn't win the Defensive Player of the Year simply because the Rams weren't good enough for him too. He never wants to go back to that again. So, the way I see it is Jared Goff has shown you in 2017 and 2018 he can be a top 5 quarterback in the league as far as from a statistical standpoint. I don't think he makes everyone around him better. I don't think he is a Deshaun Watson or a Lamar Jackson or a Patrick Mahomes that can work off schedule and literally create things that aren't there. But he is a gunsling, type of quarterback. He's a gunslinger. So, for me, when you have all those weapons and you have the scheme, people will say he's a system quarterback. You can't knock Jared Goff for falling into what wasn't a good situation and then became a good situation. He was throwing it to Kenny Britt,
20 yards a catch.
So, and Kenny Britt didn't have that bad of a year. But, Kenny Britt, compared to any of these guys, he'd be the 5th receiver on this team. Just think about that for a second.
Yeah.
So,
be a great Madden tight end.
Yeah. No, I would take Kenny Britt as receiver 5, back when he was in his prime for sure. But I think Jared Goff, he's shown 2016 wasn't really a fair assessment of his ability. The offensive line was Swiss cheese. And, just the fact he came in after the Rams went 3-1 and then didn't win a game the rest of the year. He actually ironically came in after they finally won a game. Normally that's the other way around. When you lose, but he came in and went 0-7, and people forget he showed his ability against the Saints with those weapons that weren't really weapons compared to what he has now. So he showed his ability, in New Orleans. They ended up getting blown out, but they took a 21-0 lead, and that was because of Jared Goff. And then, of course, the offensive line over the course of that game in 2016, they just, folded. But Jared Goff, that's how I knew. I was like, okay, this is why you drafted him in the first round. This is why you drafted him number 1 overall, and you traded up. 2017, getting better, obviously showed you what he can be. 2018, I think, is when, right before the Chiefs game, or right after the Chiefs game, is when he kind of fell off a cliff a little bit into 2019. But the Chiefs game, right up until that point, or past that point, you saw the best Jared Goff you've seen. You guys saw the 54-51 pretty much should have been the Super Bowl Kansas City Chiefs Los Angeles Rams game. That game was iconic. But Jared Goff after that game wasn't the same. And you saw it in the Super Bowl. You saw he was. He'd made a couple, solid, plays against the Saints, but the Saints game, he didn't play lights out by any stretch. So I think part of that falls in the fact I think the Bears, I think a lot of people are